I don't think a lot of people understand the sacrifices that successful business owners and entrepreneurs have to make.
I think freedom comes from restriction.
You talked about walking into your final UFC fight paralyzed by fear. How do you carry that mindset into life today?
The answer is always towards the danger.
Welcome to the Financial Leadership Podcast. I'm David Aframi, CEO and co-founder of BAM Advisory Group. Each week on the show, we're going to talk about how to build lasting wealth, take control of your financial destiny, and lead with confidence in every aspect of your life. We'll also dive deep into what it truly means to be a financial leader for yourself, your family, and your community. Let's go. Our guest today is a certified savage in the ring, in business, and in life. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a former UFC fighter with 11 pro wins. He went toe-to-toe with killers in the cage and then walked away on his term, but he didn't stop there. He's co-founded one of the most successful martial arts academies in the country, Easton Training Center, now with 9 locations, hundreds of students, and a reputation that stretches far beyond Colorado. He's a TEDx speaker, a leadership coach, a podcast host, and the author of Find Your Power. And these days, he's building champions at home with his family, raising 2 future ballers and investing in the next generation through his nonprofit basketball club and brand new training facility. The man is a warrior, a teacher, a father, a husband, and a force of nature. Welcome to the Financial Leadership Podcast, the one and only Eliot freaking Marshall. How's it going, Eliot?
What? I'm good, dude. How are you, man? Good to see you.
Doing great, man.
I mean, those were stretches, but we'll take them.
Right? It's always good to have somebody else tell you how cool you are. And not yourself.
You can't say it, right? People ask me all the time if I'm a good dad. And I'm like, well, I don't get to say whether or not I'm a good dad. So you got to go ask my kids.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. I really want to talk about, we're going to talk about a lot of things, talk about you, the family, the business. Yeah. But hey, just really want to start off. And again, thanks for taking your time to join us today, man. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy with life, busy with business. Eliot, you said that discipline equals freedom. What does that actually look like for you today as a father, business owner, and a man?
Yeah, so discipline equals freedom is a Jocko quote, right? And it's just true, so what does it look like? I mean, let's understand the quote first. Is like, everyone thinks freedom is doing what you want, and freedom really isn't. I think freedom comes from restriction, right? Like, when you restrict yourself and you have some discipline in what you do, then you are free, right? Because just like the overall quote, I mean, take it at its simplest form. If you have no discipline and you just willy-nilly go through your life, just, do this, do that, well then, you might be free in that single moment, but that's not going to lead to freedom, because all of a sudden you're going to be sick, possibly. You're going to not pay your bills. You're going to not have a house, no family. And now I'm pretty free, to do what I want. And a lot of that has to do with surrounding my kids, teaching my athletes, and helping the team when they need me run Easton. So that is kind of what my everyday looks like. That.
That's awesome. When we actually hired Eliot to come and talk to our company. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. And
2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. And we've actually tripled our size since then. We were really small. Now we've just hired 3 new team members. We're a team member of 14. And I was just amazed by how you and your business partner, Amal, scaled your business. I mean, was there, because you talk about, I agree with you. People talk about all the time how they want freedom in their lives and freedom to travel and freedom to do this. But what they're not willing to do is make the sacrifices, right? Kobe Bryant, says, yeah, you see me play, but what you don't see is all the hours in the dark that I'm spending working, that I'm away from my family. I mean, when you guys were going through that, through that scaling the business, how much did you have to sacrifice both personally, in business, at home, to get to where you're at today? Because I don't think a lot of people understand the sacrifices that successful, business owners and entrepreneurs have to make.
And if you want success, I was talking to the kids about this, the basketball kids, because I got irritated with them. Some of the seniors, I got irritated with them the other day or a couple weeks ago. And, we had a tournament and what travel ball's like, right? If you're traveling somewhere on a circuit for basketball, that's important, right? It's not a local tournament here in Denver. Local tournament here in Denver's something different. Okay. But when you commit to a travel ball team and you have things to do, right? You have to go to Vegas or go here. It's important. There's going to be college coaches there. There's going to be people there, especially at that 16, 17U level. And some of these kids, like, they went to prom instead of and I talked to them afterwards. I was like, fellas, what are you, like, you're not playing, your parents aren't paying $7,000 for 4 months to have you just like, rec balling. Like, this isn't rec ball. Like, I was like, and I asked them, I was like, who wants to play at the next level? And they all raised their hand.
Of course.
And I said to him, I was like, well, what, you think that just happens because you do what everyone else does?
Right.
I was like, everyone gets to go to prom. You might not get to go to prom, fellas. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if this is what you want. And that's what any successful anybody, like, everyone sees the glory, like right now you see that belt behind me and you see all, like, you see the outside stuff, but man, you don't see the sleepless nights. You don't see the crying. You don't see the blood and and that, like, that's just what it takes, right? Like, it takes years and years of no birthdays and no Mother's Days and no Father's Days and no missing things.
Yeah, man.
Now,
that's a lot.
I do believe there has to be an end to that, though. Right? Like, I'm not one of these, like I'm not like an Elon Musk, like, who's still missing, right? Like, he's still missing his kids' birthdays, and I don't believe in that, right? Like I am also okay with slowing that missing down, because for me right now, I'm not missing anymore. Like, I refuse to miss, because I'm not I'll miss out on opportunity, let's say, like maybe financial or like bigger personal success for my kids,
Well, yeah, I mean,
and that for me is the choice that of the success of what I'm calling success now.
they're only with you for a short period of time. It's
almost over.
Yeah, it's almost over. Now, you talked about walking into your final UFC fight paralyzed by fear, but choosing to fight anyway. How do you carry that mindset into life today?
The answer is always towards the danger. The answer is always towards what you're afraid of. So, and that's just, and I'm not, when I say towards the danger, like, the answer is not towards the fucking lion when you're in the jungle. Like, I'm not saying that.
Right.
But the way out is in. Okay, the way out is in. And a lot of times we run away from, we have a tendency to run away from what is hard or what is difficult. And fighting is just a microcosm of life. Nobody really will care about it, this weekend. Is there a fight this weekend? I don't know. Or last weekend, in the fight.
Next weekend.
But like next weekend, right? But wait a couple weeks and it's over,
Right.
But what does that do for you in your life? And in the cage was the answer. That was my way out. Right. So that was just another reminder of that lesson of you have to walk, but you have to walk into the arena. And it's this Teddy Roosevelt quote that I have over my left shoulder here, you have to dare greatly. And when you dare greatly, your face will never, your soul will never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. And on the way to victory, you're going to know some defeat too. So that's what it goes.
The way out is in. I freaking love that quote. That is awesome. I'm going to start copying that from you.
I stole that too. Don't worry.
No, of course, we all do, right?
We all, yeah.
Again, this is the Financial Leadership Podcast. We talk about, where you could be a leader in all aspects of your life, whether that's a community, you run a business. And then, of course, we want to talk about, the leadership truly begins with how you treat your family and your inner circle. So let's talk about business. And then I want to get to to your kids and your passion now with basketball, because, my youngest played basketball for a while, and I still have to come out and watch Kanan play some hoops. I want to see him dunk on some fools. You own.
He ain't dunking yet. He's a white boy.
All right. So is Simon gonna dunk or what?
Simon, hope, I think we're going to dunk, but we're not dunking yet.
Okay.
So
come on, man. I was anticipating doing like reverse windmills and stuff, but you own 7 gyms, dozens of fighters train under your banner or have, but the people who really see you every day are your kids. What does leadership look like in your house today with Renee for Simon and Kanan? How do you lead these boys?
I think the hardest thing about parental leadership, number one, I break this down into 2 things. For me, when I talk about like being a parent and what your kids need, your kids always need love and safety. Okay. Like this is number one. They have to know that they're first and foremost loved. Okay. Like, and if they don't know they're loved, and everyone looks on the internet right now about like, when you talk about like coaching and kids and holding a standard and being hard on them and all this shit, right? Well, you can't be hard on someone and you can't hold a standard if they don't know that they're loved and safe with you. And if they don't know that, then nothing gets through, because nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. That is where it starts, right? It starts there with love and safety. Now, after that, for me and my kids, I put as much pressure on them to be great as they can handle in a moment. And it's different for each one of my kids. Like Simon's not Kanan and Kanan's not Simon. So I was super fortunate with Kanan, and it wasn't easy to start because he is my mini. So every way that he struggled, I struggled. And it presented very early for him, his anxiety, that he can experience. And I guess the beautiful thing for us was I knew the way out. Like I knew how to deal with it, because his was literally the same exact as mine. Wow. So that just at a young age created this bond between us.
That's really cool.
Where he knows I love him, and he just wholeheartedly trusts me. He wholeheartedly trusts me in helping guide him in his life, because we dealt that, we tackled that beast of fear so early, which most kids don't have or experience, where they don't even know what it is. But because I knew what it was, my wife and I were able to help him there.
When did you? Can I ask a question? Can I dive deeper into that? Of course. Go ahead. Because parents, I think, and we're all different. And there's books they give you about parenting, but really, what does it really matter? I want to touch upon you. When did you recognize that? That in Kanan, where you're like, oh my gosh, he's my mini. We went through the same thing. And how did you approach it and talk to him? Because like my oldest son, Jordan, great kid, going to PT school. Sometimes as a father, I struggle with approaching my kids when we want to talk about something like that, where we could have a breakthrough and have a bond. Can you, help me and help this audience understand when you realized that, and what was the conversation like, and all that? Because that is fascinating to me.
He was like 6 years old.
6 years old.
Six,
wow.
And then I wasn't doing it well, and to the point where he needed for a couple of years for me to be something different for him, so I had to change. And that's where we really built the trust, was when he, I remember it so wholeheartedly. Like we're sitting in this therapist's office and he's just breaking down, crying with his head on my lap and my chest, like just bawling about how much he loves me and how much he hangs on every word that I was saying, disappointment or this or that, And I was like, man, I got to do this better. Like I am not doing this well right now for him. Like I was trying my best at the time. I'm not saying that. But obviously I can see that this is not this isn't working. So I had to go about it differently so that he could get his true feelings out to me. And then right around over the next 2 years, his true feelings started to come out about how he was feeling about his anxiousness and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, he's literally just like me.
Wow.
And then but first he had to feel safe around me, and he wasn't feeling like safe emotionally, right? You're safe at home and all that nonsense, right? Like, we're not talking about like that,
Right.
But emotionally inside, he's like looking at his big dad, this UFC fighter, all this stuff. And he wasn't feeling that way, he wasn't, and I think like, that's just something you have to realize as a parent. Like, you're doing your best might not be correct. You have to shift. Right. It wasn't like I wasn't doing my best then, but it doesn't matter like that. This is how I thought it should be, or that shit. Like, I had to shift because I have this little 6-year-old bawling his fucking eyes out, like really sobbing.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's where it started,
Leaders, I don't think, shift enough in, whether it's building a business, whether you're, with your kids. It's like, my way or the highway. And the fact that you noticed that you had to shift the way that you either communicated with them, how you spoke with them, getting them to therapy, I think it's incredible. Then how is it is Simon more like mom? Is more like Renee, or?
Yeah, Simon's more like Renee. So like I've had to, man, I don't know, like the shift just happened with him in December with me and him, but like, again, I'm trying all these ways, and dude, it was cooking together in Hawaii over Christmas that made some sort of shift happen between the two of us. And now we communicate way better, but it wasn't smooth, it wasn't smooth. And I think like the hard part in like, parenting, fatherhood, especially, like, I can only speak at it from the lens of having 2 boys that are going to be men in the world, right? Like, so you want them to be strong men. So like, it's okay to mess up. Like, it's okay to not get it right. But the problem, I think, always is when you keep getting it wrong in the same way. And you have to, like, in all leadership, you have to like look at the end result that you're looking for, and if you're not getting it and you're not getting what you want, you've got to figure out, okay, what about me is wrong here in this situation, so that we can fix it. And it doesn't mean it's personal, right? And too often when we say this, what about me is wrong, like we go right into I'm bad. Right. And then once you start saying I'm bad, then you start saying, well, I'm not bad. And your ego starts getting in the way of it. So then you won't change because you're in this I'm bad thing. You can be doing it wrong and not be bad at all. Right. Like,
yes,
it's totally cool. Like I do wrong thing. I make mistakes and do wrong all the time. I try not to put any judgment on it. The only times I get upset with myself and frustrated is when I do the same wrong thing a bunch.
Right. Will your kids call you out on that too?
Yeah, of course. we have a pretty open household.
Yeah. You gotta love it.
We have a pretty open household.
Kids keep it real. Caden is he sophomore next year?
No, man. We reclassed, so he's still an 8th grader right now.
Oh man, he's punishing. I feel sorry for all those kids. He's punishing all those kids. So he won't be playing high school ball for another year.
Now he's playing, in this coming season, like, so in November he'll play high school ball.
So much fun, man. High school, like when you go to my first experience playing high school ball, going to the rivals gym, and they're yelling at your kid, and they already like have done. These kids are smart. They do research on your kids, and they'll make fun of them. It is such a cool environment. It's such a cool environment, right? Because AAU ball is just parents, and there's the crowds doesn't really get into it. But when you go visit, because you're going to go to not it's not Broomfield High. Where is it?
No, we're going to East. We're going to East with Rudy.
That's awesome. So the year Ty graduated his senior year, his good buddy Sam was starting guard on East Squad, and they won the state championship a couple of years ago. I was there. Okay. I was there in the arena, and high school ball, man, I miss it. So much fun. He's going to have so much fun. That's awesome. You're going to East. Yeah, Rudy's, the most successful Colorado coach. That's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. That's good.
That's what, look,
so are you
that's why
going to be
we're going.
driving, or are you going to get a house down here?
Well, so we're not going to go to school. We're going to homeschool.
Okay.
And then we'll just go to practice.
That's cool, man. There's so many ways to do it. That's awesome.
Well, because like right now, like this year, he's gotten so much better because we, like you mentioned it, we bought a barn and renovated it to a basketball facility. So both of my kids homeschool, and they practice all the time. And this is, again, back to, and I know the podcast is about like success. Man, it takes what it takes, and what it takes hasn't changed, and it takes a lot.
Yeah, it does take a lot.
It takes a lot, and everyone looks at Instagram and like you want that now, and you got to realize success is a 5 to 7 year journey. It's a minimum 5 to 7 years, unless you just get like lucky in some way. And like, if you get lucky in some way, well then amazing. But I don't know if I'll call that success. I'll just call that rich. Right. Well, it doesn't mean you're successful. It means you're rich, and that's cool. But like, I'm happy for you. But like a lot of kids, they just don't know how to work, and a lot of adults don't know how to work. And you don't know how to work in silence and just work and work and work. I think Dr. Dre, or who said it? Ice Cube said it. He's like, man, can you work for 5 years and not make a penny? No, nothing. No return on your investment for 5 years. And if you can do that, once you cross that 5 year mark, you're going to start making some pennies. You're going to start making some pennies.
Hustle in silence, right?
Yeah. Hustle in silence. But you have to do it. The hard part is doing it.
Right.
The hard part is doing it. I said to my best athlete that I've ever had, her name is Anna. And I think she's like number 6 in the world right now in jiu-jitsu. And she's been my athlete since she was 15 or 16. She said to me, she's like, she lives in Texas now, but she's like, I'm still her head coach. But anyway, that's a long story. And she says, she's like, man, the other week, she's like, I had a bad week training. And I was like, oh, good for you. And she's like, what do you mean good for me? I was like, good for you. You had a bad week training. I was like, Anna, in the last 15 years, how many bad weeks training do you think I've had? I'll ask you, Dave. How many bad weeks training do you think I've had in the last 15 years?
A lot?
No, 0.
Oh.
Because I'm retired. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm not in the fight anymore. I'm not in the game. I wish I had bad weeks training, because if I had bad weeks training, that means I'm still on that chase of being a champion.
Right. It's perspective.
I was like, you're still in the game. I was like, the more bad weeks you have, count your bad weeks, not your good weeks. Good weeks are easy. Everyone can have good weeks. Can you go to another week after a bad week? Everyone has one last bad week. And then that's the end for them. They quit because it was too bad, or it was too this, or da-da-da-da. Just have another bad week.
Perspective. That's what great leaders do. They give perspective. Speaking about jiu-jitsu, I remember you and I talking, you made your boys, it was mandatory in the Marshall household that they had to do jiu-jitsu. Quickly, why was that I'll say ultimatum, but why was that one of your standards for your kids growing up?
Man, that's because jiu-jitsu made my life, And I think and I've moved on this, by the way, I've had to, this is one of my shifts that I had to move.
Flexible.
Look, I'll change it to this. You have to chase greatness. You have to try to be really, really good at something. And when you try to be really, really good at something, whether you achieve it or whether you don't, if you truly commit your whole heart to it and you really put yourself towards it, then what comes out is amazing. Because you learn how to have bad days. You learn how to get beat up. You learn how to go 0 for 10 in a game. You learn how to, like Kanan said to me the other day after a game, you did not play well, and he was so upset. And it was the first bad game he's had in a while. He hadn't had a bad game in a while. And he was like, Dad, I'm too good to play this bad. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Jokic.
I was like, who do you think you are? What do you mean you're too good to play this bad? And I was like, no, you're not. You are 15 years old. In the scheme, in the realm of goodness at basketball, you're terrible. You know, and I got into him a little bit. I was like, you're terrible still. Like, you're not too good. No, fuck off. You know, you've been committed to basketball for 3 years. You know, I was like, you don't think LeBron has a bad game? He's the second best ever. You didn't, you know, MJ didn't have too many, but you know, even MJ, you know. And then the best thing was, and I know you and I love LeBron. I know you don't like LeBron.
Second best ever. Second best ever. I agree with you.
Second best ever. He's the best human though of them all. Of all of the athletes, he's the best human.
Right.
Anyway, that was, and then that night, that was the game that LeBron completely sold against Minnesota, where he shot the logo 3 with 20 seconds left on the shot clock when they were up 3, had the inbound turnover, and then committed the foul, right? All under a minute.
Right.
And I was like, hey, dog, did you see that? I was like, did you see that sell by LeBron up 3 with a minute left? And it was all LeBron's fuck-ups.
Yeah.
You know? And I was like, how close are you to LeBron?
Right. The perspective.
Is he too good to play this bad? Yeah. You know? He was like, I got it, Dad.
That's what I think great leaders do is they give their teammates, their team employees, their kids, whoever it is that you're influencing on a daily basis in your life, you give them perspective. That's awesome. I might have this one a little bit wrong, but I know recently, I think in the last couple of years, you and Renee celebrated your 20-year anniversary. Is that correct?
We did, yeah, 20 years.
And Christy and I have been married now, 21 years coming up. Christy, if you're watching this, if I got an off a year, I'm on the spot. Don't get mad. What are some key takeaways we have a lot of our clients are watching this. They're married, right? They've lived together, worked together, retired together, have grandkids together. Couple takeaways how you and Renee have made this work.
We don't believe in the fairy tale, first of all. You know, it's not always good. Again, for me, it always comes back to these couple topics. It's not always good. Can you deal with the bad together? Right. You know, like, man, you know how many, and I'm not talking about just sex here, but like a lot, but just people in general. How many great days I've had with people. I've had so many great days with so many people, but that's not it. Right? Like I've only had bad days with a couple of people, and she's one of them. She's who I've had the most bad days with. You know, she's also who I've had the most good days with. But if you can keep getting through the bad days and talk to each other with kindness and love, know that they're not perfect and know that you're not perfect. Communicate the best you can, you know? And again, try to get to solutions, you know, try to get to solutions rather than stating problems, you know, like there's going to be problems in your life and your marriage and all that stuff, you know? So, try to be like, rather than blame, like be like, okay, this happened. What are we going to do with this, babe? Like, do I have to act differently? Do you have to act differently? And try to speak in a way that's not, you know, putting it on the other person, because, you know, no one likes to hear that one, and you're not going to get anybody to change. They've got to want to change, your spouse included.
Amen.
Right? If change has to happen, I mean, you can say what you want, like they have to want to change, but that the change comes from the individual's values, you know? So for me, when I have to change in my marriage, which you always do, or, you know, not always, but you have to like fix things that you're doing. It comes down to my number one thing that I point towards, and that's fatherhood. And I'm a believer that, now look, this doesn't always happen, and I understand divorce and all that stuff, and it is better for the kids. But I do think the best thing for children is a mom and dad that get along in a house. Right? I think that is the number one thing that you can do for a kid. So as long as I can point towards fatherhood, and then fatherhood points then directly towards my marriage with my spouse, because I believe what's best for the kids, then that's just kind of how I look at it.
Oh, I love that, man. Thanks for commenting on that. It's not easy. You know, we look at, for our relationships with like our clients, it's a long-term marriage. You know, we're managing a lot of wealth for them. There's good days, there's bad days. You know, I look at my relationships. I mean, obviously with my wife, you know, same thing, you know, we communicate. You know, we've recently been going to marriage counseling, which has done incredible things for our marriage. I wish we would have done it a long time ago. We just got back from the Bahamas and probably had one of our best trips. But I always tell our clients to say, hey, look, we're not perfect. You know, the markets aren't perfect, but if we communicate, we focus on solutions. You know, the best long-term relationships I have with my clients are the communication, and just the understanding that we're not perfect is so key.
And you got to communicate, and you have to understand the not perfect, like when you compare it to the markets, like, you know, like nobody could call you a couple months ago and be like, hey, David, my portfolio is crashing. Yeah, no shit, man. Everyone's portfolio is crashing. It's not me. It's not you. It's not this. It's, you know,
right.
Like the whole world went, you know, like, no kidding, man. You know?
Yeah.
So like that, like if you're reacting to stuff like that in a marriage, then man, it's probably not the right relationship.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's a lot of work that one person has to do.
You just got to ride that shit out. You're in a storm, you know? Like my wife's sick right now. I have to do all of this adjusting. But like I can't get mad at her. Like, could you imagine getting mad at your wife because she's upstairs with the flu or COVID or whatever it is, and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do all this with the kids. No, man, shut up and just do it.
Yeah.
Ride the storm.
Yeah.
You know,
sometimes it's 50-50. Sometimes it's 99-1. You got to put in more. She's got to give in more. And that's how good relationships work. It's that balance and communication, like you said.
Man, I heard this great thing that now that you mentioned that, by Brene Brown. You know who Brene Brown is?
No.
She's one of the best leadership coaches that we've ever.
You said Brene Brown?
Brene Brown.
Okay.
Like Renee, but with a B on it. Okay. Brene.
All right.
She's amazing. She's an amazing coach, and she talked about her marriage, and like, you know, with that 50-50 comment, and like 50-50 means if you can do 50-50, that means each of you are at your 100%, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm at my 100, my wife's at her 100. They check in and let each other know where they're at. Like when they come home, it's like, hey, where are you? And you can be like, look, I got my 100. I'm good. But sometimes you're at 10. Right? And if you knew that your wife was at 10, you could easily pick up the slack.
Of course.
The problem is missing that communication where in your head, you're like, oh, it's 50-50, right? But that person's not capable of their 50% right now. And now you start getting mad and reacting to that. But if all you did was say, hey, I'm at 20 right now. And I had to pick up my wife's extra 30 so that I had to be 80. Man, as long as I know that is reciprocated and I'm aware, and when I'm at 20, she picks up mine, I have no problem picking up when doing more than my, let's say 50%. You know, I think we all feel that way. The problem, again, is going to always come down to that lack of communication, you know, of not being and not saying where you're at honestly, you know. So
yeah, and I think the problem.
I thought that was a really great thing.
That's a great, man. I love that. I'm gonna start implementing that. I think the other thing too is I just think that, and maybe it's a man thing. I think men are maybe too vulnerable to come home and admit, you know, like, oh, today I only got 5. This is what happened. And, you know. Females tend to be the stronger of the two sometimes, you know what I mean? Especially when you're communicating. At least, you know, females tend to, you know, let their emotions out more.
They communicate way better.
Yeah.
We again, it comes down to our egos. And for me, it's a lot of bullshit you see on the internet of like what a strong man is, that I'm a lion and all this nonsense. Man, it's like, no.
I love you.
Like I talk about this all the time. I like that shirt, lions, not sheep. I hate that shirt. I hate that, you know, like, because lions don't scream that they're lions. They're just lions. Right. Like Tom Brady has how many Super Bowl rings how many Super Bowl t-shirts that says Super Bowl champion does Tom Brady have? He's got 7 of them.
Yeah.
Does he wear them out? Never. Why? Because when you walk, you go, oh shit, that's fucking Tom Brady, dog. He's got 7 rings. No, nobody, like, if you're a lion, people tell you you're a lion. It's not you telling the world that you're a lion.
I love that. Maddie's over here raising his hand. When he said that you hated that shirt or that statement, he raised his hand. He says, I hate it too. That's fine.
Well, what, like, I was, and this is just my innate personality. I was on a field a couple years ago, and I walked on, there's a lacrosse, and this dad's sitting there, and he had a hat that said "Lions Not Sheep," and a shirt that said "Lions Not Sheep," and his shorts said "Lions Not Sheep." Wow. And I wanted to walk up to him and be like, "Yo, dog, I'll show you how much of a fucking sheep you are here if this is what you really want to do. If you want to scream like this, I will humiliate you in front of all of these people. This is the bad side of me, you know." And I didn't do it, but I'm like, you are not a lion, and I know you're not a lion. That's the thing, is once I see that, I know you're not.
I love that. I want to jump into your business a little bit and talk about leadership in business, right? Because you know, you and Amal have done an incredible job. In fact, when you guys showed me how you scaled, I was like, dude, these guys aren't just like guys wrestling around jiu-jitsu strong guys. These guys are smart freaking businessmen. These guys are great leaders. And one of my coaches, one of our business coaches said, David, leaders are calm and confident. If you want your team to follow you through storms in your business, you can't be somebody who's only supportive when the business is doing well, but when things aren't doing well, you know, you're this totally different person. And I really want to dive deep into because I know you and I know your business, and I know when COVID happened, how you had to shut down your practice. If you could like share with the audience, you know, that perspective of being calm and confident and how it's helped you and Amal scale your business where it is today so that you and Amal have all the freedom to do the things that you want to do with the people that you love.
First of all, your business is your people. Okay. So we had great people. We have Mike, we have Ian, we have Alex, we have Sean Madden, we have our HQ team. They are amazing people. First and foremost, Amal and I did not do this alone. I did not do this alone. I am not this smart. Amal's not this smart. None of them individually are that smart. No one. Right? And you have to realize that. Okay. You have to realize that you need people. Okay. You need great people around you. Okay. So how we dealt with COVID was that we had great people around us. Okay. We had a way of communicating that was efficient. Okay. So that we could distribute information skillfully. Okay. And then we shifted. You have to be ready to shift. You can't be, because like, dude, every week with COVID, it was something new, some this or that or that. You have to be ready to shift. Did we fight? Fuck yeah, we fought. You're damn right we fought. But we fought in private. We cried and screamed and acted like retards in private. And then we took votes, and it didn't matter who won the vote. You have no clue. Like when we had to make decisions, you'll never know what the vote was. Never. We show up as a unified front all the time, regardless of whether or not we disagreed or agreed privately on something. No one ever hears. So no one hears it.
So what you're saying is that when you guys either came up with new procedures, a new vision, and a new strategy, behind the scenes, you hashed it out, but in front of the team, it was a unified message. Didn't matter if Eliot said it or Amal said it or Sean said it, Ian said it. It was a unified leadership.
When I got outvoted, when it comes time to vote, it's me, Mike, and Amal, right? If I get outvoted 2-1, let's say, great, vote happens, we go out, you wouldn't know that I got outvoted. You would have no clue. And the hard part is it's in the little ways you speak when somebody comes up and asks you about like why you did this. And if you don't speak in a way that is as if you voted 100% for the thing that you didn't vote for, they can feel it. And then there's that little chink in the armor. You know? There's that little chink in the armor, and this is where the devil comes in. You know, and the devil comes in and starts to like just hint at some things. Man, you guys, and I won't tell you, you guys have no clue. No, the world does not. Like our community has no clue how bad Amal and I fought during COVID. and they never will.
You guys get in the octagon? Is there tape?
No.
It's good because you guys aren't the same people, right? I think out of all the people that I know that run companies that have multiple partners, they think different and they embrace their difference of opinions. They embrace that and they use that to collaborate.
You have to I went and saw a coach during this time, you know? And he said to me this one thing, he's like, man, you have to expect people to always act towards their highest value and what they find most important, not yours. And a lot of times we want to put what our highest value is on other people, and that doesn't work in leadership.
Right.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work in your life. So you have to be able to realize that, like, back off your own self a little bit, back off your ego, realize what does that other person bring to the table, because of their values, and then make it work. Your
differences are your strengths, right?
Yep.
Differences are your strengths.
And you have to realize that your strength is also your weakness. Like, the thing that makes you great is the thing that makes you also terrible.
Right.
Like, Kanan asked me this the other day, and I know I'm rambling a little. We're in LA, and both of our top teams were playing, and one of our not top teams was playing. And one of the not top teams these kids are probably not going to go play in college, right?
Right.
But it was a little bit of a nightmare. We had to change coaches, all this stuff, right in mid-season. And they were playing 30. We were down in Orange County, and they were playing in Anaheim. And I wasn't able to get up there to see them at all. But on Sunday, I could make it happen. And I got up there. I took Kanan and Eric, and Eric's one of the kids that I take care of. And we're sitting there, and these kids are in this game. And Kanan looks at me. He goes, "Dad, why do you care so much? Like these kids will be done playing basketball, And I'm like, Kanan, I care so much because that's just who I am. I was like, but also the caring, how much I care keeps me up at night. Because it's the bad of me. Caring too much gets me too involved in things that I can't make a difference in. Caring too much puts me in places and situations that I shouldn't fucking be in, So you have to realize, like, everyone thinks that this strength of theirs, whatever your superpower is, it's also a super weakness.
Right.
And if you can't realize that balance, you're going to have some issues.
Blind spots. Sometimes our strengths are our blind spots. That's great. I want to dive into culture. A few years ago, our business coaches sent us a similar message. Focus on the team. David and Christy, if you want to scale this company, belong you, leave a legacy, have this company continue to help people, grow and protect their wealth, you really got to give up control, hire a team, and build a culture. And recently, BAM Advisory Group won a very prestigious award. We were voted as Mile High's best financial planners in the Denver Front Range. And our clients who were very happy that we won this award emailed us, said, David, Christy, I could tell you I'm not surprised, because every time I come into the office, I'm treated, your team treats me. They're so happy. They treat us like, we're the most important people in that moment. Can you talk to me about the minute that you and Amal bought into culture and what culture means for you within, the Easton walls in your business?
I got to give this one more credit to Mike. Mike was the big pusher of this. And we worked with somebody to help us develop, and a culture starts with values. What do you stand for? And for us, core values are, what would you lose friends and money over?
I love that.
That's how we state our values, and then we just develop them. And our values at Easton are excellence, trust, compassion, stewardship, and adaptability. So those are our 5 values. I think that was so. And then everything comes back to them. That's how you build culture.
Would you say you use your values as decision making within the business when you're thinking about taking
every decision?
Okay.
Every decision is the first filter is, does it fit the values? Like, if we're going to do something, does it fit the values, or does it break the values? And if it does, then you just don't do it. It's that simple.
That's great.
And you know, and then look, you got to fire people, you got to hire people, you got to do this and that, and man, you have tough decisions to make in a business. You know, we've had to fire some of my best friends at the time for acting outside the values.
Those are big decisions.
Those are shitty decisions.
Where would you say now? Because I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. You know, because we poked around obviously in your website and I pay attention. You know, I know that you actively try to help other gyms scale and be profitable. Is that kind of like the next? Because I mean, you guys have opened. It sounds like to me that you've opened all the gyms that you want to in the Colorado metro area. Is that fair? Are you still looking to open some gyms there? Or?
I don't know, man. I'll speak for me personally. I don't want to take more risk opening the gyms, and I don't want to fork out more money. You know, so that's where I am personally a little bit, but I'm not giving up control either. So, the gym space is expensive, and to make, you know, and why I work on like the consulting arm a lot more. The gym space is expensive. You need a building, you need employees, like, you know, where you know, the online space, you don't need anything. You need an internet and a computer, right? It stays way lower. So I'm very focused in that area because there's just less people to have it go wrong with, right? Like, it's like the difference between a member quitting and an employee quitting. When the employee quits, it's way worse.
Way worse,
right? Especially if it's bad. Let's say,
yes,
you know. When members quit, you know, they don't necessarily hate you. Maybe they move away. Maybe it's this. It's a whole different thing,
right?
You know, so, yeah, I'm there. Mike still, you know, he's the CEO, so he still handles a lot of the in the school things. And I don't want to ever sound like I love the schools. I'm not saying that at all. But I think personally, the biggest growth potential for us is affiliates and online.
Okay, that's good. Sounds like you're thinking about, maybe you're not, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You know, like one of the, you know, BAM Advisory Group, we focus on 5 key areas to someone's success with their wealth. The last key area is legacy. You know, we work with a lot of high net worth clients that want to leave a legacy to their kids. What does leaving a legacy look like to you in both home and in business? Maybe you haven't thought about
home. No, I have.
Okay.
Home.
Yeah.
Is that my kids want to sit at the table with me when I'm 70.
Love that.
That's the legacy. Like, so that, like, what does my Thanksgiving table look like at 70? You know, that's my legacy. And that will touch a lot of things. You know, like one of the big things I'm really working on right now is to make sure that I'm playing with my grandchildren. Like physically playing. Like I'm not just going to be there. You know, we're going to get in the pool together. I'm going to play basketball with them. Not well, but I'm going to, you know, I'm going to step out on the court with them.
I want to see Eliot on the court.
You know, so yes, dude, Simon fucking smoked me yesterday. He's so much more athletic than Kaden and faster. Like I beat Kaden way longer. But Simon, it's over for me with both of them now.
Is Simon 13 or 12?
Simon's 11.
11. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And smoked me.
All right.
So that is my home legacy.
Okay.
My Easton legacy, man, I want students to come to class. As long, like, you know, if they're coming to class, that's the legacy I want, because that means I'm still doing a good job. Like I have champions, you know, that's cool, but that's forgotten. You know, if you're coming to class, if you're choosing to spend 2 to 3 hours a week with me consistently for every week over long periods of time, now we're talking. You know,
love that.
Now we're talking. I'm not talking just champions, because man, all the champions, they were going to be champions anyway. Like John Jones was going to be a champ. I don't care what gym John Jones walked into. He was going to be a champion.
Right.
George St. Pierre, champion. TJ Dillashaw is going to be a champion. Now, do their coaches make them better a little bit? Yeah, of course. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to discredit the coaches, but those people, they're phenomenal.
Right. You're talking your everyday students. Phenomenal. Your everyday students coming in. Yeah, man.
Your everyday student. If David Aframe is coming in and just spending that time, that means we did something right. Right? That means we did something right. The fact that you emailed me to come on the podcast, that started with Easton.
Yes, it did.
Right? So that started with Easton. So therefore we're doing something right. Right? And that's the legacy that I want to live. I don't like accolades. I mean, accolades are good for the camera. That belt's good for the fucking camera.
Right.
Like it's cool. That's why it hangs there. And like 2 quotes. I love the quotes. But accolades is for the gram, dog. The legacy. Your legacy is the people that know. Is the people that know you.
Yeah, that's why when my production team said, "Hey, let's take the podcast to the next level. Let's start getting some guests." You were one of the top 3 people that I thought about, because as I've known you when it was, when I lived over at Wash Park and was doing, training, strength training 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. And then I came back and I did some, kickboxing, just the drive from where we live. You've always been the same guy. And I could say I know that people that know you say the same thing, that Eliot's, life has changed a little bit. You've leveled up in life, but your core principles of who you are as a person is what I appreciate you. Got about 5 more minutes. Want to just ask you a couple other things. And for those of you that are watching this, Eliot's got a book, Gospel of Fire. Go read it. Such good principles. His TED Talk, Finding Your Power in the Arena of Adversity, is incredible. If you're watching this and your kids play hoops, hard to guard, right? Hard to guard.
Yeah.
Eliot's got a great basketball program, and Eliot's go to Eliot's website, eliotmarshalls.com. If you're watching this, you run a business. Eliot, great talking to your team and pumping them up. Two more questions and we'll wrap it up. If you could only leave the world with one piece of advice, what would it be?
The impediment of action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle is the way.
The obstacle is the way.
It's just what it is. And then that leads into like these the next 2 quotes behind me, which is the daring greatly quote by Teddy Roosevelt, and the only way to walk into like the obstacle is through love and not hate. It's the Martin Luther King quote, that darkness can't beget darkness.
Love yourself first.
That's
right.
Yeah, you gotta love.
You gotta love yourself.
You gotta love.
Last question, we'll wrap it up. And again, man, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
People ask me, "Hey, what do you do? What's your business?" And I say, "Yeah, we do comprehensive financial planning." But really at BAM Advisory Group, what we're known for is protecting what's priceless for our clients, so they can spend more time doing what they love with who they love in retirement. If I were to ask Eliot Marshall, Eliot, what does protecting what's priceless mean to you? How would you answer that question?
Protecting what's priceless? I think what's priceless is our time. And how we spend our time and who we choose to spend our time with. So I've had to really like hunker down on that kind of stuff, seeing what, for me, I'm going to say this, it sounds kind of shitty. Look, I think I'm fucking amazing. I just think I'm amazing. If you come to me with a problem, I'm down to solve it. And there's just some problems that you can't solve, right? Like I'm not that amazing, so I have to realize that, and if I surround myself, and if I get into things with people that I don't jive with, because I'm like, oh, I can go fix this. It really fucks with me. And then it fucks with me personally because I care so much, right? This is the downside of like what we were talking about earlier when Kanan asked me about like, why do I care? And then I can go down a rabbit hole, man. I can go bad and get very upset. So for me, it's my time. I have to really, really protect my time and choose where I'm going to put my energy, because as much as I don't like to admit it, that's finite. Like the amount of energy you have is finite. And if you spend it in ways that is draining, man, this is how I stop breaking my rules of being a good dad, being a good father, being a good teacher, being a good student. These things who I know that I am, like my I am statements that I have. If I spend too much time trying to do things outside of those, I end up not showing up in ways that I need to show up.
Protecting time. We don't have enough of it. We can never get it back.
It's finite. You know, the problem is not even that you can't get it back. You don't know how much you have.
Right.
You like with money, for example, you can go look at your accounts, add them up, and it's a number. Right. So you can, like, you know, let's say you're at the end of life, like a client, you're like, all right, man, you got 10 million, you're 70, you're set. Right.
Right.
But 10 million might not be, like, you know, if you look at somebody who's 40, 10 million might not be enough because it might be plenty because they might die tomorrow.
Right.
You know, you just don't know.
Time is the most precious commodity. We don't know how much we have.
It is.
Well, great, man. Yeah. Thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Hopefully we see the boys continue to hoop, see them in college. If they're going to play at East, I know how to get that schedule. It's going to be fun going, especially when East plays South, man. That stuff they get crazy.
It gets intense, right? It gets intense. Yeah, I'm excited
really
for it.
Really intense. So we'll definitely communicate with you. We'd love to go see the boys play hoop. Tell Renee we said hi, and, you know, keep enjoying life, man. Keep being you, Eliot. The world needs more people like you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on. Everything that you've done, you've helped out my basketball club and all that stuff too, you know, and you didn't need to do that either. So really appreciate it. You guys, thanks, Dave.
You got it, man. Take care, Eliot. Appreciate you, bud. Once again, this is David Aframi, co-founder and CEO of BAM Advisory Group, also a licensed investment advisor representative. If you would like to see how we help our clients protect what's priceless, how we've helped our clients for the past 25 years, please visit our website at www.bamadvisorygroup.com and schedule a no-cost, no-obligation meeting with one of our advisors. If you're enjoying the content and you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe. Thanks again, and we'll talk with you soon.